This is a journey around our coast. But what is our coast? Well, legally, it's the part that lies south of two lines on a map. But borders are entirely abstract creations. Animals and plants ignore them. The climate is the same on either side of them. South Africa's borders seem relatively logical, following two major rivers on either sides of the continent. But when they were drawn up, these lines represent the way in which colonizing powers carved up the land in their own interests. In reality, of course, these borders are not set in stone. We live on a changing planet and life moves. Just like borders, history can hide as much as it reveals. The history of our East Coast provides an example of how some histories can vanish from history, while others provide the very basis of our present-day identities.
In much of the history written about South Africa's introduction into the global modern period, European empires and empire builders loom particularly large. And that's because for a long time, South Africa's official history began in 1652, and then thereafter followed by the exploit of the British in Southern Africa. But if we want a more accurate view of South Africa's introduction into global modernity, we should look about 100 to 150 years before the arrival of the Dutch to the 1500s, when global sea trade was really taking off. And along this eastern shore, African kingdoms were trading with European merchants on African terms. "450 years ago, this northeastern coastal region was an international trading hub, with its main port at what was then called Delagoa Bay in Mozambique, where the Portuguese had set up station. One of the groups that came to exploit these trading opportunities to the maximum were the Tonga. The Tonga inhabited the region between northern KwaZulu-Natal and southern Mozambique, and Portuguese traders came to be very dependent on the goodwill of the Tonga kings if they wanted to access gold, ivory, and slaves. And Tonga kings used the wealth they accumulated to consolidate their power in the region.
The Tonga presided over the most wealthy empire at the time. They controlled the vast trading network of ivory from Delagoa all the way inland.
Between 1760 and 1790, one of the most powerful kings of the East Coast would emerge, and his name was Mabudu of the Temba Tonga. Mabudu would come to dominate trade between Delagoa Bay and northern KwaZulu-Natal. Now, you might never have heard the name Mabudu, but you know its legacy. Of course, Maputo is named after him.
While a powerful figure like Mabudu has faded from the realm of popular memory, one cannot think of the East Coast without the name Shaka coming to mind. Shaka kaSenza Ngakhona, king and builder of the Zulu state in the 19th century, looms large in South African history.
Although Shaka earned his place in our history books, historians have probed deeper and found that his reputation as a fierce and cruel tyrant is as much a product of historical fact as it is of fiction, specifically colonial fiction and the embellishments of oral history. There's ample evidence to be found in the diaries of colonial traders that Shaka's misdeeds were regularly exaggerated by colonialists and missionaries in order for them to take over land and people that they said they were protecting from Shaka. Also from the 1970s, what is fascinating is that historians came to realize that Shaka lived in a time of incredible change. I mean, by that stage, the European presence in Southern Africa was virtually entrenched. There was no going back. And there were many other leaders who were equally aggressive in building up their states who responded to these changes. In fact, what we find is that inasmuch as Shaka used his incredible army to build up the most powerful state of the time, there were also times when he had to build up alliances with those leaders who could repel his might. And as we travel along our coast, we're going to discover one of Shaka's most formidable contemporaries.
In our journey around the coast, I will be keeping my detective hat on as I explore history and its usual suspects and looking out for the unexpected.
So if we want to recover some modicum of historical truth, we need to become detectives. And that means watch out for red herrings, scrutinize eyewitness accounts, and sift through seemingly boring and irrelevant material. But also add some imagination and have a questioning mind. And always remember that your experiences and ideas are bound to shape where you think the evidence points.
$450 million years of history and evolution lie behind us. Hundreds of thousands of species thrive all around us, and another 12 weeks of adventure and discovery lie ahead.
We've explored the bigger picture, the grand stories of geology, of time and tide, of the dawn of humankind, and of our more recent history. But now it's time to leave behind the bigger picture and go in search of the smaller gems of our shore. In the coming weeks, we'll be discovering new places, meeting creatures great and small, or just peculiar. We'll be trying our hand at new experiences, or failing at old ones all over again.
Man, this is as hard as it was last time, and I seem to have gotten it. I'll just leave it to the kids.
And having a whole lot of fun into the bargain all the way.
Niemand het gezien, de padda om op boot geskrik, die olifant. Maar wie sou nie skrik nie, magtig?
Another 3,000 kilometers, another 3 months of adventure and discovery. Join us as we explore and celebrate this, our shared birthright, that which binds us together, our beautiful and boundless shoreline.
Join us next week on the West Coast as we start on the first leg of our epic new journey around the coast. You can also follow us on Facebook by searching for Shoreline.